I looked around on YouTube and you type in, beginner guitar lessons. Some of those people, bless their hearts, they are not teaching beginners because they'd be like, A sus2 and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, is this English? I think I stumbled onto like a Russian YouTube channel. I don't have any idea what they're talking about. But you stuck with me when I found you. And I think what you said is, I'm going to explain this next part to you as if you know nothing. And I'm like, that's my girl. I know nothing. Like, I don't know how to properly hold the guitar. I don't know whether or not I'm supposed to be using a pick. Like, I didn't know what tabs were. I didn't know how to make a single chord. I mean, I'm coming into this with about as much knowledge as a 6-year-old. To have you just be so like, this is for people who literally know nothing. That gave me a lot of freedom as a beginner to not be embarrassed. Like, I don't know why when we try new things, we get so embarrassed that we're new and that we make mistakes or that we don't understand or that something is like Greek to us. But how are we ever going to get better at anything if we aren't afraid to start as a beginner? And I think you also said the best time to learn a guitar is 20 years ago, and the next best time is today. And I'm like, oh, good. So there are so many little nuggets in those first few lessons that I watched. I'm like, okay, this girl gets me. She's my speed. This is where I need to start. I like a system, very type A. I like a checklist. I like a path of like, where am I going next? And so while I realize I probably could have learned a lot on YouTube, it's still, there's like, you're overwhelmed by options. And so just having something where it's like, okay, do this, learn these 2 chords, try this little beginner song with just downstrums. Like, okay, now learn a little bit of tab. And it just felt so incremental that it has never felt overwhelming. My one thing that is hard is just my life and telling my kids like, go, go, so I can hear myself and practice like it's a beautiful day. But I also didn't want to use that as an excuse to not start because my youngest is about to turn 6. So if I'm waiting until my house is empty, that's another 12 years I'm putting off. And we're just never guaranteed tomorrow. And so if the most I ever learn is Ode to Joy and I die in a car accident tomorrow, I can play Ode to Joy without looking at either hand, which is more than I could do 8 months ago.